Hey everybody, it's your boy Marcus Norman from Gentleman Style Podcast, your host of the number one podcast coming to you live in America. And today we have another treat for you, some real estate investing, my favorite subject, most of you all's favorite subject. And of course, we have an expert from the street, not the streets, but from corporate executive, and he is leading the charge in his real estate investing. And he's going to help us share some tips, some tea for us to take our real estate business to the next absolute level. So without further ado, here we go. Everybody, it's your boy Marcus Norman from Gentleman Style Podcast, your host of the number one podcast coming to you live in America. And today I have Mr. Shawn Ackerman, an experienced, well-diverse real estate expert who grew up in an underserved community in the Crown Heights section of Brooklyn, New York. He survived the 80s crack pandemic, which gained an intense desire to improve his community and life's trajectory, and took control of the transition of his life into adolescence and further into adulthood. Over the years, he has learned some key life principles, some of which are trading time for money is not a long-term nor sustainable path to building wealth. His passive income mindset versus active income is important for maintaining wealth with the possibility of minimal time sacrifice. He believes his purpose in life is to impart key principles along with wealth of knowledge he's obtained by buy and hold real estate investing. And today he's on the Gentleman Style Podcast show, dropping the tea, and here to help us and take our business to the next level. So without further ado, help me welcome to the stage, Mr. Shawn Ackerman.
Yes! No! I love it, man. Thank you for that introduction, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you for joining us on the Gentleman Style Podcast show. It is well deserved, brother. This is all you. You are impactful. You are incredible. I love New York. I love New Yorkers because you guys make stuff happen. No matter what area you guys touch, business, real estate, you guys absolutely dominate.
Grind. It's the grind. You gotta have the grind, baby. Let's go. Let's get up and get it, man. Let's get it. Absolutely, brother. I appreciate that, man. But you know, and like you mentioned in the bio, I don't know if you're ready to start or you want to do something different, but I could go. Just say when. Just say okay. All right. So as you mentioned in the bio, man, you know, trading time for money. I realized very early on that wasn't the long-term path to wealth, right? I don't know any 9-to-5ers that are wealthy. Right. It's usually the CEO that owns the corporation that has the 9-to-5ers working for them that generate the wealth. Right. So one quote I like to something that kind of stuck with me is that your company is never going to pay you enough to live next door to the CEO. That stuck with me. OK. And I realized that I needed a passive strategy and a strategy that would allow my money to work for me opposed to me working for the money. And buy and hold real estate, man, that was the path, man. So that's kind of what got me here today, brother.
So you're obviously anything you set your mind to, just like I introduced earlier, anything you set your mind to, you can dominate. Why real estate? Specifically, why real estate in the Milwaukee area?
Right. So you know what? A lot of times I look back, man, and it had to do less about the area, but more about my metrics, right? So I know I needed three things when I got started in this real estate game. That I needed a market that was going to have good landlord-tenant laws, right? Because here in New York, we have something called squatters' rights. And someone could squat in your property or hold over in your property 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, up to 5 years, right? So if you're a buy and hold investor, that is not going to make sense for you. So that's why I don't invest locally. The other thing is that the 2% rule, right? So essentially the price to rent ratio. So if I buy something for 50 grand at the bare minimum, it has to rent for $1,000 or 2% of the purchase price. because that's going to tell me after all expenses, debt service, this, that, and the other is still going to make money. The property is still going to make money. And I needed, lastly, a market that had a relatively low barrier of entry. So I was working with limited capital when I got started, about 130K. So those three things, that's what led me to the Milwaukee, Wisconsin market. I looked at 5 other markets, Toledo, Ohio, Columbus, Birmingham, Alabama, Houston, Texas, and a couple other markets. But Milwaukee had everything that I was looking for.
That makes absolute sense.
Besides the cheese. Wisconsin is a cheese state. Let's go.
The cheesehead. Absolutely. Yes, so that makes absolute sense. And so, but you have a unique niche, and you your expertise. You hire a virtual team, right? So that's different than the traditional real estate investors who would tell you, oh, you need a general contractor, you need a lawyer on deck, you need all these different people on your team, but you hire virtual assistants to help you progress your real estate. How does that work? How can my audience incorporate it into that business? Because that's got to be expensive, right?
Not really, man, because essentially what you're doing is you're helping them build out their businesses, right? You're funneling opportunity to them, right? That's the value add. That's what I add to them in terms of value. And obviously them taking care of whatever I'm needing, from them, whether they're a general contractor, electrician, plumber, process server, leasing agent, insurance company, title company, whatever, they're reaping the benefits of me driving that traffic to them. So now I have 2 businesses, actually 3 businesses that I run all virtually, right? So when you say team, are we talking about the wholesaling business, that team? Are we talking about the buy and hold business, which also kind of lends itself to the turnkey company that I run in that market? Which business model are you referring to? Okay, and then I can break it down from it.
Let's start with wholesaling, because that's the quick cash. That's the quick capital, the 90K closing, the 30K closing flips that gives us starting capital.
Right. So I got a small team, right? And all of these jobs, essentially at one point, I've done them. So there's acquisition. Well, initially there's cold calling, right? So when we take our information from PropStream, we get that data, we upload it into Mojo. That cold caller gets that information to makes the call. The cold caller is gonna have 2, one part-time, one full-time, and they're from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I pay them $4 an hour, and they rock and roll on the phones all day long. Monday to Friday, that's all they do. Okay, so we got the cold callers. We got 2. We got an acquisition manager, right? So once the cold caller qualifies the seller, they then pass them off to the acquisition manager, right? So in between that transition, my disposition manager, which is the 3rd person or 4th person in the team, she's going into PropStream, getting the values and sending over to the acquisition manager what we can pay on cash and what we can pay on terms. So now when the acquisition manager calls and they're talking to the seller, setting up the appointment for the contractor, they already have an idea of what we can pay for the property. It just makes the conversation go a lot smoother. So that's essentially the entire team. And on the ground, we have our general contractor. So I would say it's 6 of us that walks through the properties, gets us photos on which we use for our marketing, as well as a repair estimate for the property. Because the only way we can logically make the seller an offer is we look at the value, shave off a little equity, shave off the repair, shave off our assignment fee, and that's how we make our offers to the seller. But yeah, man, it's a 6-man team, man. And I don't work in the business anymore. Thank God. I'm also working on the business. Yep. But I've done everything except the general contract work, every aspect of the business before.
Right, but you're familiar enough that you know what a good general contractor is, and that's the position that you hold, right? You need to vet those people in order to onboard them onto your team. So one of the biggest issues is training up your virtual assistants, right? Everybody says I don't have the time to teach my virtual assistant. I don't have the time to teach these team members the business because I got deals on the table that I need to close and I need to push forward. How do you overcome that? That's a huge struggle.
Right. So one of the things that I've done now, and probably a model I'm going to use forward, is I've built a business for my VA, right? He's the first guy that I ever hired. He's now the trainer, right? So the second, third, fourth, fifth, any amount of VAs that come down the line, they're going to come through him, right? Not through me, right? So I had to train him first, build a solid foundation with him. Now that's replicatable. That removes me from the equation, and he runs that business. So I pay him. He pays the other VAs that come in after him. Whatever they work out is whatever they work out. As long as we're getting productivity, right? I just pay one person. And that's my motto, man. Train that first person. And essentially, it's a business for him, right? So I essentially brought him in and taught him how to run his own business. And all he's doing is replicating the things that I taught him. So as part of my training model, I record a lot of the stuff that I do on the phones with sellers, live calls, and I just plug them into that, right? All they do is tap into the videos that I've recorded live with sellers. They get a chance to listen to those objections, how I overcome those objections, how I qualify the sellers, any tax issues, any mortgage issues. What would be your top 2 reasons why you'd be looking to sell? We actually make 2 offers, one cash, one on terms. They get to hear all of that, and then that's what I use to really train them. So it's a lot less of me sitting down with them, but just simply replaying what it is that I've done in the business and letting them replicate it. It's all about replication, brother. Let's go!
I hope you guys are taking notes. This is Shawn Ackerman, real estate. He is dropping some gems. We have to go to a quick commercial break. You all stay tuned, stay engaged. We will be right back. You don't want to miss 1 second of this, man. Be right back. Love you guys. Good day, podcast listeners. This is your boy, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I wanted to let you guys know that we will be rolling out a new feature and adding a join sponsor button next to the subscriber button here at the bottom of your screen. Once you click the button, it will display 3 membership levels. Gentleman Gentry, which is our entry level. Duke Duchess, which is our season level. And the Emperor and Empress, which is our most sophisticated level, which you will receive unique perks and benefits at each differing level and gain access to our community tab. We will also be sharing polls, upcoming events, and interviews, as well as receive feedback from our sponsors directly. Your support helps me find new and exciting guests to bring to the stage live. Well, in order to get the higher end speakers, it requires, you guessed it, money. So thank you for tuning in to my channel. And if becoming a sponsor sounds good to you, then select the join button below and choose your desired sponsor level. Let's continue to grow and serve the future of generations of men and women to come. Love you guys. Bye. Hey everybody, we are back. We have the incredible Mr. Shawn Ackerman, real estate energy mogul. Oh my gosh, I love it. I absolutely love it. He is changing the game, changing our mindsets, and showing us a better way to do better business in our real estate business. And he just explained to us, he just broke it down. If you missed it, scroll back and check him out. He just explained how he builds his team to include several virtual assistants, and how he structures his business, his wholesaling side of his business, because he runs 3 businesses and manages them all while maintaining high productivity across all boards. You don't want to miss this. Now, Mr. Shawn, tell us, what's the best way to, you said you didn't have much to start with when you first got into real estate. So how did you finance your first real estate deal?
Right. So at that time, it started in 2013. I didn't really have any capital, right? So I leveraged my credit, right? So there's 2 things that I know in the real estate game. There's leverage and there's positioning, right? So leverage, if you have good credit, and even if people don't have the best credit, I strongly encourage people to work on that, because having good credit, you can open up an entity and you can build business credit, leverage your personal credit. So I had credit, long story short. So, right, I could go into credit all day long as well. So I found this company. I'm not going to say their name. I don't know if they're still around. But essentially what they did was they applied for credit cards for me. They liquidated them essentially through balance transfer checks. I took those checks. They came with the card. I deposited those into my checking account. And that's how I got started. That was my startup capital. These were 0% interest credit cards, 12%, 12 months, 0% interest, 18 months, it's a variety. But that was all I had to start with, man. I had no rich uncle, I had no huge savings account. My wife and I were living house poor because we just put every last dollar that we had into this new house that we bought with FHA financing. So for the house hackers out there, but yeah, man, that's how I got started, brother.
So that makes absolute sense. So there's a myth, right? There's this myth, and I want you to debunk it right now for my listeners, for the audience, right?
Yeah.
Right? Everyone says, "Oh, I got into real estate with no money down. I got into real estate with no money out of pocket." Is it true? Is it possible? Because you just broke it down for us that you had to find a way, you had to make a way. Is it true that I can get into real estate with no money down?
Right. So using that method, definitely, if you understand how to leverage or use other people's money, in this case, it was the bank's money, right? Now, that strategy, right, it's because I had no other alternatives, right? I didn't have nothing in the 401k. I didn't have a rich uncle, didn't have no angel investors or nothing like that. So that's what I could find that made sense for me at the time. The trick with that, leveraging that strategy, is you got to get the money back before that 0% interest period ends, because I spent another 2.5 years digging myself out of that, right? So that's what people don't talk about. Yes, the entry, but you got to get yourself out of that, right? So you have to be very strategic on how you refinance and stuff like that. So the short answer to your question is yes. In terms of like flipping or, other aspects of real estate, I mean, listen, you're going to be paying for something, even if you're driving for dollars, right? As a wholesaler, you're going to be paying you pay for the cell phone that you use. You're going to be paying for the car in terms of gas, so may not be a dig in my pocket, pay for this, sort of transaction, but there's no get into real estate for free. I mean, it's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you time, money, or something like that. No,
so vacation.
Yes, something. Yes, right. Yes. So there's no true zero money in strategy, because even wholesaling, you have to pay for the leads. You have to, sit on the phone with the sellers. You have to market to your end buyers to offload those deals. So it's going to cost you something. But the key is to mitigate the cost as much as possible. And that would be like finding a strategy or just simply learning where you can find leads from, quality leads from at a low cost, and just maybe not getting all the software up front, just kind of doing everything like a manual on a manual basis. But there's a low cost way, a zero money in. No, I'm gonna leave that to the gurus, bro.
I feel you. So I don't want you guys to miss that. He just broke down some very detailed myths. So when he said he had to get the money back within 2 years, I don't want that to overlook, because that's very powerful. That's a powerful and very not often, but a huge strategy to break into the real estate game. He took the money off of his credit card, so he did cash advances, and if you have an equity line, you can do the same thing. Line of credit, you can do the same thing. He took the money off at 0% interest rate. So while he's using that money, when he's capitalizing, while he's leveraging, we've all heard that, he's leveraging the capital, he has a finite time frame to pay back that money. And so that's what that hustle was for. That's what he's talking about. And that's powerful. And I didn't want anyone to miss that. And so if you all were ever wondering, how do I break into real estate with no money? He leveraged someone else's money with the understanding that he has to pay this back within a time frame. So thank you for that, Mr. Shawn. That's huge. That's major. So can you start investing? Take that back. I'm sorry. I'm excited. So I'm shaking.
I'm excited too. Let's go. No
What
doubt,
what
bro.
what are some mistakes or pitfalls that you see real estate investors make, newbies make, that you can help kind of put out there to help spare them the rod in that?
Right. So if you're going to be a buy and hold investor, just, you got to immerse yourself in it, right? So you got to understand the numbers. So a couple different rules. The 50% rule, obviously, which lends itself to shaving off all the expenses off the gross rent to get to your NOI. The 2% rule, right? If you're a cash flow investor, if you buy 400,000 at minimum, it's your rent for $2,000 a month, right? And knowing what expenses are included, right? The vacancy reserve, the capex reserve, the maintenance reserve, your taxes, your insurance, your property management, landscaping, snow removal. That gets missed a whole lot, So running your numbers, understanding how to run your numbers is one of the biggest pitfalls that I see with new real estate investors on the buy and hold side. So just, run your numbers, run them again, and run them a third time. And, that's the way that you kind of grow and progress. And in Bigger Pockets was a big part of me getting started because they have a calculator on there that I ran numbers on day in, day out, tapped into the podcast. I listened to a brother called Jay Massey. He's all about, cash flow. And you got to kind of immerse yourself. So what I would say, King, at the end of the day, if you're serious about it, which I was when I got started, it's about immersion, listening to podcasts like yourself, right? If you're talking real estate, they need to be tapped in with you, okay, on a regular basis, right? If you're giving out them gems, anything real estate, man, sleep, eat, man, I dreamed it. I woke up to it, that immersion piece, man.
And he manifested it and he brought it into existence. So that's huge. That is huge. So that's what one of the numbers, right? He said, know your numbers, guys. You have to know your numbers and evaluate every single deal, especially if you're making an offer, especially if you're in the flipping business. Because when you make an offer on a deal, you are obligated to follow through unless something comes through, unless something happens that allows you to get out of that contract. But it is a contract nonetheless. So that's what Mr. Ackerman is talking about. So you have to know your numbers in order to make a valid offer on those real estate deals, whether it be buy and hold or whether it be flipping. One number, Mr. Ackerman, I want you to share or talk about. You mentioned cash reserves, having enough cash reserves. How much because you consult, you teach this.
Yes.
How much do you recommend someone keep in reserves to going into their first deal? What should they have on hand?
Right. So 6 months of expenses, right? So a quick way to run that is if you buy a property and the gross rent is $1,200, half of that is going to be shaved off in expenses in $600. So at least $3,600 at bare minimum. Now, before taking down a property, before closing on it, you should have an idea of how the foundation, plumbing, electric and roofing is operating, right? Is it old? Is it in disrepair? Are you going to have to take on those things immediately after acquisition? So when I say 6 months of reserves, I'm just talking about operation expenses, right? Your taxes, your insurance, your property management costs, your capex reserve, vacancy, all that. But now you should definitely know before you take title and take ownership of that property, you should know how the major systems are functioning. So that's a separate expense, capital expenses. I don't really, because typically, and I'll explain it this way. If I am buying a new deal and my contractor walks through the property, right after we're closed, we're tackling those issues, right? Immediately. So if it needs a new roof, we're popping a new roof on it. If the property has fuses and it needs to be upgraded to circuit breakers, we're doing that. If we got some plumbing issues, we're knocking that out. Foundation issues, we're knocking that out after acquisition, because that gets factored in to the price that I offer the seller, right? So I'm building that into my numbers, right? But in terms of reserves for operating expenses, to me, I'm comfortable with 6 months. Maybe 12 months would be a nice, a better cushion. Because that way, if you have a tenant situation and they don't pay, you can carry the building for 6 to 12 months. So, I'm comfortable at 6, but, 12 months, that would be more of a conservative estimate. Yeah.
That's really good. I agree. Absolutely, absolutely. So you do a multitude of things. Tell us about, you have something unique. You have a mentorship program. I kept it real estate
So,
mentorship program. Tell us about
so
that mentorship program.
got you. So that mentorship program is really like a one-on-one when someone wants to deep dive into building a wholesale business, either locally or virtually, or if they want to learn how they can use like scalable business models to grow a rental portfolio, right? Because I use something called delayed financing, right? Now, this might hurt a couple people about this strategy, but I'm going to explain because this is how I've essentially grown my portfolio. I buy everything in cash, right? That's a part of my strategy. For example, I just bought two duplexes a few days ago, right? Two duplexes for 80 grand, both partially vacant. And that's another story. A tenant passed away or whatever. But
So
so I buy everything in cash, clean them up, put tenants in them, and then go to the lender for leverage at about 70 to 75% loan to value. So that's the buy and hold scalable strategy that I use. So for people that want to tap in and learn the specific strategies that I use to scale a rental portfolio, to learn wholesaling locally or virtually, it's like an immersion program, man. It's like a 6 week, weekly meeting. The first week is 2 hours, and then every week we meet for one day. It's an hour call, and we're just going through everything, soup to nuts. But I have a ton of other stuff on my website, how to start building leverage at LLC, how to buy your first rental property. I have that on my website. And we actually have a university, right? You see this shirt?
yes.
Hey, let's go. I kept it real estate university, man. So we're putting everything into course content, and people can tap in for about $29 a month, and they're getting everything broken down to them in video format. Yes, sir.
That's
Let's
affordable.
go.
That's
Yes,
really affordable. That is
yes,
not bad at all. So,
yes.
so again, I want to break something down for you guys. So when he said loan to value and leveraging to scale up your business, he's talking about when you don't buy. It doesn't sound like you buy completely just abandoned properties. You have some tenants in place. They're not completely demolished structures, right?
Correct.
So,
Yep.
so that makes sense, y'all. He's buying the property at a significant discount. He got two duplexes.
Yes,
That's a huge discount. And so he buys these properties, and then as he fixes them up, adds the new roof, adds the plumbing, puts quality tenants in place, and gets it fully rented, then he goes back to the bank. That 70 to 75%, he's taking out the equity in that property. So I didn't want anybody to miss that. That's powerful. And he is here today to break this down. I love it. I love it. And take his course. That's absolutely affordable. You are not going to get that anywhere else at all. How, Mr. Shawn, what is your best way or favorite way to give back to the community?
So I'm here first and foremost, and thank you for this opportunity, King. When I was told, yeah, man, that we had an opportunity to sit on your podcast, man, I jumped at it, man. I told my business partner, I said, please email this brother yesterday, right? So we can get on your platform, and I love what you're doing out here for the community, and it's needed, right? I'm just point blank. Period, is needed. So I appreciate everything that you do. But getting on podcasts such as yours, I'm on Clubhouse a lot. I'm on Instagram, sharing on Instagram. We have a free version, right, to our university, right? So it's not just if you can't pay, you can't enter. We have a free section where it's other conversations that I had with other coaching clients may be on there. Just some free game. I have some free game segments that I review as well. I mean, those would be the ways that I give back, man. To the people. I'm definitely on Clubhouse way too much too. Yes, sir.
If you had one final piece to give to my audience, what advice would you give the growing entrepreneur on their journey to building their own business and taking that first step into real estate investing?
First, listen, definitely go out. Everybody tuned in to the sound of our voice. Please go out and read The Richest Man in Babylon, right? That book changed my life. Okay. It gave me a perspective on money, using money as a tool to get more money and let that money get more money. So when I say when we talked about it at the start, I had this epiphany about not trading my time for money, right? We had to relearn this mindset because think, when you put your money in a checking account or savings account at the bank, they're lending your money. So they're leveraging your money to give someone else a car loan, a mortgage loan, a credit card, whatever, right? So the same concept applies. We just need to retrain our thinking to realize that, hey, I want to return on my money. Now let's get some interest on compound that interest and let that money make more money. So that reading The Richest Man in Babylon and changing or shifting the mindset from trading time for money, right? Working a 9 to 5, not telling anybody to quit, right? Because your 9 to 5 is your partner, right? That's going to put you in position to get loans or residential 1 to 4. But getting your mind wrapped around, letting your money make money. So those would be my two biggest takeaways, brother.
That is gold. That's amazing, and that makes absolute sense. And that's true. That's a real gem, y'all. I gotta ask, I forgot to ask this. Are you open to investors? Is your company I Kept It Real open to investors?
Right. So we take in some private money, right? And it's really just like short-term money, 6 to 12 months until it's almost used as like a bridge until I can put that long-term financing on it. So rather than me going into my account, sending a wire to the title company, we have private lenders that lend, typically at about a rate of 7 to 9%. Depending on our relationship with that lender. So yes, I'm open to taking on investors that way. I'm a terrible partner because I want to control everything. So I don't do, partnerships on actual real estate deals. I know it's terrible to say, man, but I just know my strong suits. So that's one way that we partner with people. And I bring people into the market, right? So if I have a deal, if you're looking to get started, essentially what I do, my third business is I call it a turnkey business model. People are familiar with turnkey. So if you come into the market, let's say you're from Japan or Israel or Africa, right? And you want to invest in the US, or you're from another state, right? You want to get your portfolio started. Not only can you sit with me, I can break all the gems down, but I could give you actual deals to get your rental portfolio started. So I have a wholesale business. I'll wholesale you a deal. And with that deal, I can attach my team. And that's what I call Learn Key. That's my third business in Milwaukee. And yeah, man, we can partner that way for sure.
I love that. How can my audience connect with you, grow with you, build with you, and learn from you?
Awesome. So we just opened up our club on Clubhouse. I Kept It Real Estate U. Definitely tap in with me there. Instagram for sure. Facebook. Not super active on Facebook. But if they want to get on a free call with me, all they have to do is go to the website, click the free consultation tab, and just book a call with me. And the same way we're talking right now is the same way I'll talk to them on the phone. And, if there's something else you want to do from there, we can use that as a springboard. But those would be the best ways to get in contact with me.
Absolutely. I appreciate this, brother. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to give back in this way. This is absolutely phenomenal. And the beauty I love about podcasting and taking notes is this is my video. So I can go back and relearn all of this.
I love it, man. I love it.
But for my audience, please click the link down below and book that consultation. It's worth your while. If you are sitting on capital and you are a passive investor and you want Mr. Shawn and his team to really put you in position to really take your real estate business to the next level, click that link below or reach out to me or find us on YouTube or wherever social media or video content can be streamed. We are on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Audible, Spotify, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, and where all video content and audio content can be consumed. So check him out. This is dope. Mr. Shawn, I want to thank you, brother. Please don't give up. Please don't ever quit because we need you. We need you. We desperately need you.
And I appreciate you for the opportunity, brother. Seriously.
Always. And like I always say, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule, my audience, for tuning into the Gentleman Style Podcast show. I appreciate you. And like I always end every show, take care of your family, take care of your homes, and take care of business. This is Marcus Norman, and CEO, founder of I Kept It Real Estate, Mr. Shawn Ackerman, signing off. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Take care. Bye now.